Hey there, 8th graders. Welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're basically handing you your ultimate developer toolkit. We're going to take those plain, totally static text documents and transform them into truly interactive multimedia web pages. If you've ever found yourself wondering how the websites you scroll through every single day actually work behind the scenes, well, you are in exactly the right place. So grab your digital tool belts because we're about to seriously level up your HTML5 superpowers. All right, think of this as your official mission briefing. We're going to cover 1. Dusting off HTML basics. 2. Connecting pages with links. 3. Styling links with CSS. 4. Adding audio and video. 5. Building layouts with frames. And finally, number 6, your practical lab session. Let's get into it. Section 1. Dusting off HTML basics. Let's do a quick recap. You know, every master builder has to know their basic blocks, right? So we've got the HTML tag that just tells the browser, hey, a web page is starting. The head tag, that holds all the background info, like your page title. Then there's the body, which is where literally all the visible magic happens on the screen. And inside that body tag, well, we can organize our data super neatly into grids using table, tr, and td tags. Or we can drop in some stunning pictures using the img tag. Pretty simple, right? And this right here brilliantly illustrates exactly what those basic tags can do when you put them all together. Over on the left, we've got our raw HTML code. You can see we're using table rows and data cells to list out an Amur leopard and a mountain gorilla. Then on the right, the browser reads those exact instructions and spits out this incredibly structured yellow background page with crisp images and perfectly aligned text. This right here, this is your foundation. Okay, moving on to section 2, connecting pages with links. Time for some digital teleportation. Think about it. A website isn't just an isolated island, right? It's a web. And hyperlinks are the bridges connecting everything. There are really 2 main types to know. Internal linking is basically just like walking into another room in your own house. You're just jumping from one section of your web page to another. External linking, on the other hand, is like taking a flight to another country entirely. You're linking out to a completely different web page or a totally separate website on the internet. So the crucial point here is how we actually code that bridge. In HTML, we use what's called the anchor tag. It's represented by just the letter A inside those little angle brackets. It basically acts like a container. So whatever text you put between the opening A tag and the closing A tag, that becomes clickable. And that clickable text actually has a name. It's called hypertext. When a user hovers their mouse over it, the pointer turns into that familiar little hand icon. You're definitely going to need this specific tag later in your practical lab session, so make sure to keep it handy. But hold on, how does the anchor tag actually know where to send the user? Well, that is where the href attribute comes in. You can give it an absolute URL, which points out to a whole different site, like google.com. You can give it a relative URL, which just points to another file saved right there in the same folder on your computer, like click.html. Or you can even create an email link just by typing mail to, followed by an email address. Pretty cool, right? Next up, section 3, styling links with CSS. Let's talk about changing link states. So links actually have moods or, states. There's a normal, unvisited link, a visited link, a link you're currently hovering your mouse over, and an active link. That's the state right at the exact moment it's being clicked. CSS lets us completely change the color and style for each of these states. But listen up, here is the golden rule. You absolutely must define them in this exact order. Hover has to come after link and visited. Active has to come after hover. Basically, just think of it as a strict sequence you have to memorize to keep the browser happy. Okay, let's dive into this code and just look at what CSS can do. By simply removing the standard underline, we do that by setting text decoration to none and adding some padding along with the green background color. We've completely transformed a basic, boring hyperlink into this massive interactive button that says correct posture tips. We even set the hover state so the background changes to red when a user moves their mouse over it. Honestly, it feels completely professional. All right, section 4, adding audio and video. Let's get into HTML5 multimedia. Before HTML5, adding sounds to a web page required all these clunky third-party plugins, but not anymore. Now we just use the simple audio tag. The 2 most important attributes you need to include here are src, which stands for source, and that tells the browser exactly where your MP3 or WAV file is saved, and controls. Now, without that controls attribute, the audio might actually play in the background, but the user literally wouldn't have any buttons to pause it or change the volume, and we definitely don't want that. Just by adding that audio tag with controls in your source file, the browser automatically generates this entire super sleek audio player right there on the web page. As you can see, it gives the user a play button, a timeline, and volume controls all built right in. It is a massive, massive upgrade for web developers. Now, inserting video works in almost the exact same way, just utilizing the video tag instead. You still need SRC to point to your MP4 or WebM file, and you definitely still need controls. But because with video, you're dealing with actual visuals, you also have to use the height and width attributes. This basically lets you draw exactly how big the video player should appear on your page, just so it doesn't accidentally, blow up and take over the entire screen. And here is the visual proof. By setting a width of 500 and a height of 400, this bit of code elegantly embeds a beautiful video of a serene seashore right directly below our text paragraph. We actually even added the autoplay attribute here, which means those soothing ocean waves are going to start playing the absolute second the user loads the web page. You guys have essentially just learned how to build your own mini YouTube. Let's jump into Section 5, Building Layouts with Frames, Pages within Pages. So think of an inline frame or an iframe in code exactly like a picture frame that you'd hang on the wall of your web page. But instead of displaying a static photograph, this frame actually holds a completely independent, fully functioning HTML document. It essentially lets you chop a single web page up into multiple rectangular segments. This is incredibly useful for things like navigation menus that you really don't want to have to reload on every single click. Now, by default, an iframe might just look like a boring standard box. But the cool part is you can use CSS properties to style these frames literally however you want. You can set the border width using exact pixel measurements. You can play around with the border style, making it dotted, dashed, solid, or even totally hidden if you want. And of course, you can customize the border color using color names or hex codes so it perfectly matches your website's overall vibe. Now, what's really interesting about this is seeing it all acting together at the exact same time. Take a look. We have a main yellow document here holding 3 completely separate HTML files. Frame A has this thick purple dotted border. Frame B went with a solid green border. And frame C, well, that one has no border at all, which makes it seamlessly blend right into the background. It's just incredibly flexible. And finally, Section 6, your practical lab session. Time for the boss battle. All right, here is your visual target. Your ultimate goal in the lab session today is to write the HTML code to generate this exact web page. You're going to need to structure the layout, drop in this really powerful image of the Earth, and style the text to create a clear warning message about global warming. Now, to actually pass the lab, you must hit these exact project specs. First, use your CSS to paint the background color of the body tag green. Next, ensure the main heading is bold, uses an Arial font, is colored yellow, and is sized to 6. Then, add a subheading in Verdana, size 4, colored orange. And finally, you're going to use that anchor tag we just learned about to place a Read More hyperlink right down in the bottom right corner, pointing straight to the Wikipedia page for climate change. I know you guys have all the skills to pull this off. Think about it. You started this explainer looking at just basic text. And now you know how to link across the globe, style interactive buttons, stream video directly, and even embed frames inside of frames. The web is literally your canvas now. So the only question left for you 8th graders is this. Outside of this classroom, how will you use these branding HTML5 superpowers to build your very own piece of the web? Get coding, have fun with it, and I'll catch you on the next one.